One thing I've noticed within Christianity is most Christians will lie to defend the Bible. Okay, because let's face it, the Bible is a mess. It's filled with contradictions, variants, verses that are out of place, additions. The way the Bible was canonized was not godly. I mean, people were picking and choosing and voting which books to put in the Bible and which ones to leave out. That's not divine. And one piece of scripture that I love bringing up because it's very easy and poignant and very cut to the chase to show how insane the Bible would be and how crazy and petty God and the prophets would be is 2 Kings 2:23 to 24, where the prophet Elijah gets offended at some small little children, some small little boys, calling him bald, so he sends a curse from the Lord upon them. Curses them in the name of the Lord, and two female bears come out and maul these little youths. So instead of reflecting on this and thinking, wow, that's pretty petty, first of all, it's really petty for a prophet of God to do this and ask for the Lord to curse them. And it's even pettier for the Lord to send two she bears to maul these little boys. That's why Christians will make excuses. I've had them say, well, God took away their pain. God wouldn't allow these little boys to suffer, so why couldn't God take away their pain? Oh, yes, yes. God basically sent these bears to maul these little boys to teach them a lesson, but by doing so, he actually took away their pain. So if you watch the scenario here in the scene, all you would see is these little boys being ripped to shreds, but not a single cry. Maybe a smile because there's no pain. They would be wondering, oh, my arm, it's ripped off. My leg, it's bleeding. My throat, it's cut, but I don't feel any pain. So they'd be walking around wondering what's going on. This is the insanity that I'm talking about within Christianity. Or those weren't little children, those weren't little boys, those were full grown men or teens. They were big. It's a lie. That is a lie. Or they weren't really mauled, they were just kind of a love tap, basically. Maybe a little bite, a little nibble. That's a lie. So there's a lot of lies wrapped up into this one piece of scripture. And when you have people lying to defend the Bible, then it just shows you that you can't have honest conversations with most Christians. And it shows you why some people will believe anything. When you have a book that's this dark, that's filled with errors and contradictions and confusions, and then you have scripture like this that shows that God would be petty, God would be malicious, God would be very vindictive to do these things to children. In the Bible, we have God slaughtering little children, cutting from their mother's wombs, slitting their throats, killing the firstborn. God's a very angry, malicious, vindictive person in the Bible. And that's the danger of it. It creates such a divide between humanity and God because we're fearful of God, because why wouldn't you be fearful of God? If you know God could do something like this to little children because they offend somebody, then Lord help you. You don't ever want to tread on God's footsteps, ever, because he'll send a plague upon you with locusts and eat out your eyeballs. Or maybe you offend him and he has somebody come stab you with a fork. There's no love here. This isn't love. Would you do this if you were a prophet? Prophets are supposed to be above reproach, and they're supposed to be men of honor and men that are close to God's heart. But when a prophet of God and God work in unison to come against little boys and have them shredded, then you have to wonder what's going on behind the scenes here. And that's the danger of the Bible. Okay, not only does the Bible keep us sectioned off from other people, but it also warps your perspective on who God is. If God can do this, and God is love, and we're told God is long-suffering and patient, this shows the contradictions found in the Bible. And again, it shows the lies and the depths that people will go to defend the Bible. So we see here in 2 Kings 2:23 through 24 that Elijah went up to there from Bethel, and while he was going up along the way, some small boys came out of the city and jeered at him. Again, small boys, saying, "Go up, you bald head, go up, you bald head." And he turned around, and when he saw them, he cursed them in the name of the Lord. And 2 she-bears came out of the woods and tore 42 of the boys. Tore them. Tore them. And he cursed them in the name of the Lord. First of all, this is a ridiculous story because there's no way 2 bears are going to have the time to shred 42 little boys. Okay, just think about this mathematically. Think about the time it would take for these bears to maul 42 children. You think they're going to be able to maul 42 kids? Two bears? No, these kids would be running for their lives. We're talking about little boys. Okay, they wouldn't be standing back trying to defend their friends and be patriots. They're going to split. Little children, little boys, they're going to be gone. They're going to start seeing their friends' arms being ripped off, and they're going to be running for the hills. Okay, so it doesn't even work when you think about this. The time it would take for 42 children to be mauled by 2 bears, it's just out of the realm of possibility. At least some of them would get away. Okay, they're not going to sit around and wait their turn. Sure, 2 bears being set down might get 5 or 6, maybe even 10, maybe 10 of them, imagine. That's a lot. But 42 of them? See, this just shows that people aren't thinking. So, and the words there show that they're little children. They're little boys. Okay, they're not teenagers, or they're not young men. They're little boys. The word there, here, some youths. These words in Hebrew are katan, which little one, smallest one, little young one, the least little, katan, okay, diminutive, literally in size, diminutive, little, small, young, katan, narim, kata, na'arim, when you combine it together, kata, na'arim, little boy, child. Na'ar can be used for young man, sure. But when you combine na'ar with katan, then you're shown that it's a littlest one, littlest boy. So this shows again where people will lie to manipulate scripture in order to defend the indefensible. You would never do something like this. I wouldn't. And if we're supposed to believe that God is a God of love and long suffering, then how can we imagine that God would allow something like this to happen? He wouldn't. Because the God of the Bible is not the God of the universe. It's a God of invention and a God that was written through the culture of the Hebrew Israelites.